Kia ora koutou, no mai, haere mai, welcome to another episode of Inside Netball. Well, the Silver Ferns 12-a-side side have wrapped up their 2023. They've just finished their last campaign, the Constellation Cup. I want to get straight into it. I've got Anna Stanley and Jenny Woods with me. What a series that was. 2 games apiece. Of course, Australia get the cup though, but we're happy, aren't we, Jen?
Well, who cares about the cup, really? I mean, we didn't really need it. But it was just so much better this way round than last year when they finished on a high by, winning the last 2 over there. This way, it just feels so much better. I mean, we, ended with 2 great results, great crowds. The whole vibe was wonderful, and the whole country, for a moment anyway, was talking netball.
And you're always remembered by your last performance. Could it be Noeline Taurua's last hit out on New Zealand soil as Ferns coach? But for me, the biggest and most pleasing aspect was the product and the brand that the Silver Ferns were playing by the end of the year, because you rewind a few months back at the World Cup and I was just like, holy moly, where is this team going? So great to see Grace Wicke back on the court, and I think it has just solidified to me how much we need her in the team and how much our attacking style relies on that big hold at the bat.
Well, let's start with that topic then, because you talk about the improvement from World Cup and just the whole change in brand and product. Is it purely because we had Grace Wicke back, or even having a tall shooter back? Because even in those first 2 games, we saw Amelia Walmsley play some brilliant netball, and our attackers just looked a little more cohesive with a tall shooter. Is that what New Zealand netball is now?
I don't think it's the only reason why we were so much better, because I thought defensively we were a lot better as well than we were at the World Cup. So it was a combination of both the defence end and attack end. Is that the style that we are going to be playing moving forward? No, I think we've got players that like to play that mobile game, but at the moment we've got 2 tall shooters, as you say, Grace Wicke and Amelia Walmsley. And the strength when you've got those tall shooters is to throw the long bomb in. So I think you've got to play to your strengths.
Well, you do, and to an extent that's what Australia does with Garvin. But going back to what we were doing in Cape Town and what we're doing now, I mean, we're playing players in their positions. Shock horror. No Kelly Jury out at wing defence.
I forgot that even happened.
Yes, and I hadn't. And you just think, yes, she is a good goalkeeper.
There was a sense of stability around this series, wasn't it? With the changes Knowles were doing, when she was doing them, the timing, and they were impactful. So, again, it was lots of different tweaks.
And talk about impactful. I mean, that the introduction of Souness in both the 3rd and 4th tests, wow, just changed up the game.
I want to just focus in on Grace Wicke for a second, because in Game 1 of the Constellation Cup, she had no game time. We lost that game by 10. Half a game, much better performance, we still lost by 9 in Game 2. In Game 3, she had 45 minutes, we won by 3. Game 4, obviously 60 minutes, we won by 3. There are obviously other factors to that, but those numbers say a lot. Do you ever sit there and think, oh, what if, thinking back to the World Cup, is Grace Wicke really the most influential player in world netball at the moment?
Yes, and I think you forget that in a game of netball only 2 people can shoot, right? And if you take your key shooter out of that, it is going to have a significant impact, much more than, say, if you lose your world's best centre. So yes, I think she's in a position that means so much and it can be so costly in a game of netball. 94%, 95% as well, and the volume of ball that she gets. I think throughout the series at times they weren't feeding her well enough, and I think that became apparent by the 3rd test when Souness came on. I thought she changed things, and by that 4th test they were firing it in. So she added confidence around.
That's the point I was going to make, actually. It's what she brings to the team that she doesn't put through the hoop. She just instills in her teammates confidence. And I think the other thing that the defenders are so busy taking care of her that they probably give a bit more space to whoever's in the shooting circle with her, be it Icinacio or Maturo. So I think, she can never be injured again.
Never again. That's a good point, Jen. Even as a wing D, you think when you've got a tall shooter in the back, your job as a wing D is thinking about how can I help out these guys, because they've got Grace Wicke in the back, and you can kind of get away from maybe taking out the wing attack or whatnot. So that is a really good point, just relieving that pressure, not only for the middies, but just everyone around her.
And I've said it a few times, look, back in our era, if we did not have Irene van Dijk, we would not have been half the team as well. So she's a key cog.
And interestingly enough, I heard Noeline talk about the comparison between Irene and Wicke just the other day, and I think, and she was acknowledging that she is going to be important, as important to this team as Irene.
Will she be as good as Irene?
Well, I think
be.
she could be better.
Same.
Oh, well, it's very exciting to see her back out on court. I did manage to grab her after the 4th test of the Constellation Cup. Here's what she had to say.
Just really happy. I'm happy to get a full 60, happy to get the win. Really proud of the whole team.
Couldn't help but notice you're rocking the double ice pack, though.
Yeah, it seems to be a theme after any and every minute on the court. I'm just taking care of myself. I'm still on a return to play, still getting my minutes back up in terms of training load, but yeah, just taking it slow.
How proud are you of your girls, and especially in that attacking end, to pull out and grind out a win like that?
Yeah, I'm just so proud. We had a joke earlier that we were laughing, celebrating like we won the Constellation Cup, which we haven't, but it feels like we have, It's 2 for 2, and we've grown over the past series, those first 2 games, and coming home and winning both. Really, really proud of the growth we've had and just the strength we were able to show to bring that win home.
Tell us, in your own words, what is it like playing this Australian defensive circle?
Yeah, I think I got into the fight a bit today, which I wasn't that happy about, but it's tough, yeah. It's physical in the air, but it's also that mental battle, the little shitty things that happen, the things that happen under the hoop and, getting the ball back and little hits and elbows here and there, it gets frustrating. Sometimes the umpire gets involved and that's frustrating, so really just keeping a cool head. Credit to Courtney, she's an amazing defender. It's a challenge anytime you go up against her, and I think she had a good game today as well.
And you're playing fast 5. Are you looking forward to a little more space in the circle, maybe?
Yeah, I'm so excited for fast 5. It's a different vibe, a little more fun. You can have more flair. I'm more confident exiting the circle now and really delivering that ball down. So I'm excited to see how that can go in my game and just have fun with a new group of girls in Christchurch.
Well, it's great to see you back. Rest up and enjoy fast 5.
Thank you.
Well, sticking with our shooters focus, I want to do this thing where we're going to rate the areas of court for the Ferns for the Constellation Cup and the Taini Jamison series. Since it was pretty much the same 14 for both series, what would you give the shooters a rating out of 10 for their performances as a collective, as a unit, over the past 2 campaigns? Annie.
Okay, right. Well, I've averaged it out at 6.5
Ooh.
10 for the shooters. It's quite difficult because within those 5 shooters, there were varying degrees. So for me, Maya Wilson finished on a 5 when she came on the court. Just wasn't as effective, and have we seen the last of her in the black dress? Unsure. But Wiki got an 8 out of 10 for how impactful she was on the court.
Just an 8.
Just an 8.
She's harsh, Annie.
Yeah.
Well, you can't give a 10 out of 10.
No.
Not 10.
No.
You could give it a 9. Anyway, yes, continue.
There were quarters where she went a little bit off. I mean, it's hard to get a 10. 6.5 for Walmsley, 7.5 for Ekanasio. So I think 6.5 is a good number based on those averages. But I think, the talking point for me in that shooting end is Wilson, and are we going to see her move up into that goal attack position? Have we seen the last of her at the goal shoot?
I really think the idea for the Stars this season, heading into 2024 with Rani Samison coming in, is so that Maya can go out to goal attack. I know she's been vocal about wanting to grow her goal attack game, and now after the last couple of series, you'd have to admit that it makes sense.
And of course, Kerry Wills was she was the assistant coach in the last 2 tests for the Constellation Cup. She is the Stars coach, so she was probably having chatty with Knowles, and perhaps that's something that they've
But how many
agreed
chances do you give her? I mean, I think back to that Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, and my memory tells me that she started at goal attack against Jamaica. I broke and then did something else. I feel I'm being so harsh, but this is top sport. And I went through and I was thinking, right, well, you've got Weki and Walmsley and Ekanasio and Maturo and Malisala and Saviour Tui and all the others coming up. How many chances do you give Maya Wilson?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. She could have a blinder in the ANZ playing out at goal attack. We haven't seen her do that consistently yet. Those other players you've mentioned, we haven't really seen consistently play at a high level either. So is it just clean slate heading into 2024?
And you look at, if we're still looking here in that goal shoot position, you've got, I guess, Weki and Walmsley moving forward, but are they too similar? You've got 2 tall goal shooters that play a very similar style. What Maya Wilson has is perhaps a point of difference where she does move a bit. If she can learn to move and come forward for the ball, that would be helpful. But she does add something different.
But she's played 38 tests.
And feels like she's been in there for a long time.
Yeah. And, I just think, OK, it might be time.
She had some brilliant performances, though, in those early days,
Yeah.
remember? I mean, she was all over the Australian defence when she first came onto the scene. I don't know. I still have a soft spot for Maya because I can remember some of those moments where she just absolutely dominated, and whether it's just
Consistency has
consistency
always been
and just the connection with the
downfall.
middies as well, and understanding the game plan, and whether that hasn't been coached right. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm holding on a little bit of hope there. What was your
What's the
rating,
space
though,
on that
Jen?
Oh, well, now, I sort of did it a little bit differently. I gave Ignacio an 8, as much as anything for her captaincy and her accuracy, because I just thought she was there, you know, when Warm was in that Taini Jamison.
Yep.
She had a 19-year-old shooter playing with her, and she just sort of coaxed her through. And I think at one stage Taura referred to her as, you know, Mama Ignacio, you know, leading her through.
But you look in that last test, she had periods on the bench. Should your captain be benched?
Same in the third, right? Tiana came
Yeah,
on.
no, I've got no problem
No
with that.
problem, okay.
No.
I just thought at times she looked like she was tired and needed a bit of a break. Whether that's okay, you can have your break and come back on.
Mind you, yeah, Watson never. But anyway, which brings me to Tiana Maturo. Can you have a goal attack who's on court for 20 minutes and never puts up a shot?
You can when you've got Grace Wicke at the back.
I think you can if she's serving her role of bringing Grace into the game, bringing the middies into the game, which is what she did in those in those moments. Sorry, and then she came off and Amelia Ann went back on and it was fine.
I agree.
Yeah.
She totally won me over, and I think, gosh, have we just seen sort of the, I hate it's overused, the redemption of Tiana Maturo, because there was I can't think what she did, but she got a rebound in one of those games, and I thought, God, there is no way you should have got that rebound, and
she's
she
tough.
did. And she sort of barrels around the court. But
and what she provides as well, you know, she may not put the shots up, but her goal assists, you know, I looked at the stats going into that last test. When she came on in that third test, she'd nearly put in more ball than Mila Buchanan and Gordon when she was on the court. So her ability to act as another feeder, she's got that natural eye into the shooter. That's a strength of hers as well.
So you gave them how much, the shooters?
6.5.
Yes, no, I think that's a bit mean. I would give them 7.
Okay, well, it does only 0.5.
Well, that's only 0.5. Yes.
Oh, I went 8, so I'm
Yes, there you
clearly
are,
being
you see.
very generous. I just think the way Amelia Walmsley debuted, well, I know she debuted in the Taini Jamison, but we are looking back to that campaign as well.
Yeah.
Great coming of age performance, Grace getting her back, Amelia Ann consistent, you know, great captaincy. Yeah, some other performers maybe bringing it down a little bit, but I felt like an 8 was fair. Just really quickly.
Feeling quite harsh now.
Sorry. It's good. We need it.
And you were the teacher.
It's good. Just quickly on Tiana, if that's the role we know Knowles is looking at using her in, this kind of impact, bring someone into the game, take her off. What happens going forward when we lose Amelia Ann? Will Tiana ever step up into that 60-minute performance when we know she's not going to put up the numbers? Is that, you know, we do look at someone like Maya Wilson going forward, or, you know, we keep an eye out on these goal attacks, because it's still possibly a bit of a problem position for us.
Well, I was talking about this with somebody who was from in the deep south, and they were saying that when she needs to, she'll shoot.
Right.
I mean, I can't.
Yep.
You know,
why can't she be a 60-minute goal attack? I think we have seen in the past that she can be. I think, for one, her fitness has always been something that has been a struggle for her. If she can nail that, remember, she's only young. If she can nail that, then I think she can certainly be a 60-minute goal attack.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to the middies. And again, we're talking Constellation Cup and Taini Jamison series. Quite different, really, weren't they, the way they were used. But we talked a lot about the changes Dame Knowles used, particularly in the Constellation Cup. I'm rambling. What was your score, Annie?
Well, I went 6. The mid-court for me was the lowest. And we heard from Knowles during the Constellation Cup. She thought that they were honeybees to a pot. We talked a lot about how they ran on top of each other. This is the real area of court that I think the Ferns can be a lot better at, getting depth and width and coming on and off the circlage, using the triangles. Difficult to actually score them within. They're all quite similar for me. I thought Souness and MRB were quite similar, even though I thought Souness had good impact when she came on. I gave all those 3 6.5, Souness, MRB and Hef. Gordon, I actually gave her a 7 because I thought...
Maddie
Gordon, a 7. Defensively, I thought she was great at the back, picking up ball, especially in that last test. She came out, got that great 3-foot mark. consistent, and the error rate I thought of Souness and MRB just dropped them down to 6.5 for me. We saw Souness make some uncharacteristic errors, MRB as well. Heffernan, I'd just still like to see her get more ball as a wing defence, but then am I being too harsh because it's so hard to get ball as a wing defence, and often you're only really measured by how well your in-circle do as a good wing defence, right? And we saw on those last two tests, Jury and Berger come out, and I think that was because of the work that she was doing. She was very effective through court. In fact, in the last few tests, she got more centre pass receives than the wing attacks, which I think is an area that perhaps needs to change as well in the Ferns, and that's why I've given the mid-quarter 6. They need more first phase off the centre pass to the wing attacks. That's their strength.
I think when Whitney's on, she would get first phase, but we just lose that a little bit with Mila.
Yeah. And then when Souness came on, why was Knowles playing Souness at centre and MRB at wing attack? Because Mila is a centre the whole year for the Stars.
That's right.
And Souness was a wing attack the whole year for the Pulse. So I'd like to see them switch around.
Which they did later on, didn't they?
No, I don't think they did.
They didn't.
No. So that's something that I'd like to see different. But for me, the mid-court, an area that I think will get better now that Grace is in the team, and they will look in.
Yes. I agree with you, actually, and I think I bow to your superior knowledge, but I would, again, I would give them 7, only because I'm a kind person.
Okay.
But I do disagree with you about Heffernan. I mean, I was a wing defence in my heyday. And I think it's true that, if your in-circle defenders are winning ball, that's to a degree due to the pressure. She's a wing defence is a disruptor, and you're just going through and disrupting. And I just think, she had a long year, Kate Heffernan, and I know we're not going all the way back to the quad series, but she was the middie of the tournament.
She was centre that entire time.
Yes.
And I actually didn't play centre at all in the Constellation Cup.
She was knackered, I think, in that final in Cape Town. So I think, obviously, Taurua likes the way she plays, but maybe overdid it while in that tournament. But, no, I think by the end of it, you could see the green shoots, another phrase of the moment, coming. And as you say, Annie, when you get that Wiki at the, under the post, put the thing up. But, where does this leave Toiava?
Oh, yes.
Another name that people have brought up with the return of Grace Wiki.
Yes. Where is she? And I'm pretty sure she's signed for Mystics. Now, imagine if she comes back fit. Is she another one? Is she going to go back into that mix?
I don't see why not. I
don't see why not.
I also gave the middies a 7, and I think they improved as the series went on, but totally agree. The honeypot calls, the running on top of each other, it was quite hard to watch at times. And I was particularly disappointed with the turnover to score, bringing the ball through from a turnover. Even by that 4th test, it was still an absolute shambles. And then I was thinking, why can't we just try Kate Heffernan in centre just for a little bit and see? But didn't happen, and that's totally fine. But I think the improvement of Maddie and Mila was huge. Yep. But also wonder if that came down to
time on the court.
But also the brilliance of Dame Knowles to just pull them for a little bit and have a chat, put Whitney out there, then go back on, have a look at it. Smart changes, which we've been pretty critical of Knowles this year.
I wonder, though, how much of those changes came about after she'd seen the review of the World Cup?
Possibly.
And was reacting.
It must have been a big part of it, right? Because we were all scratching our heads during the World Cup. Maybe. Well, shall we move on to defenders?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Annie, since you're setting the bar.
Yes.
Well, I gave them my top mark. 7. 7 out of 10. Jury, for me, was an 8. So Jury and Wiki, my 2 most outstanding, and I thought she was great in those last 2 performances. Great to see that she could back it up, because we haven't seen 2 strong performances from her back-to-back, and against Australia, that's pretty impressive. And Berger as well, MVP performance. She was very good at goal defence. I still would have liked to have seen Berger on Liz Watson at wing defence with Karaka at goal defence. I think that is something that we haven't seen. And I, in fact, asked Debs after one of the tests, I was like, why aren't you putting Berger on at wing defence? And she said that Berger needs to be a backup at that GD position when Karaka's not playing well. So I was a little bit confused. I think
that must have been earlier on.
It was earlier on.
Yeah.
I just think they are a fan of Hefin at wing defence. Karaka was hot and cold. She had that really good test against the Test 2 and the Taini Jamison, but then quite flat in 1 and 3. Didn't get on much in the last 2 for the Constellation Cup. And Watson. What's happened to Watson?
Can't
Everyone's
even
asking me,
rate her,
is she
right?
pregnant? Is she? I'm like, well, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But when she did come on, we didn't see the ball that we're used to seeing from her. You know, she's so good at her deflections and her ability to go for ball, recover and get intercepts. But
it's hard when you're only having little cameos, right? You feel like Knowles would put her out there and be like, go do what you do best and get me some ball, and that's really hard.
Well, also, too, the points, I too am going to give them a 7, but the difference is, I mean, you've got to be better than the person you're replacing or offer something different. And I don't know if she would have, actually, because they're very different players, aren't they, Jury and Watson?
Yeah.
Jury started playing a lot like Kelly. In fact, those last 2 tests, her ability to play that tight one-on-one and go for so much ball and get so much hand to ball was something we're not used to seeing from Jury. So that's why she kept Watson on the bench.
Well, in the first 2 tests, I was screaming, put Jane on, Cara Conan. Why aren't you mixing that? Because Kelly was a bit flat-footed for that baseline drive. But then in the second 2 tests, Stacey Marinkovic was playing Sophie Garbin, which I felt like kind of played into Kelly's game style. I don't want to take anything away from Garbin. I think she actually had a really great series, but you didn't need to put Jane out there because Jury and Garbin matchup was great. Why wasn't Cara Conan used when it wasn't working? She came on at goal attack, fine, but you had Sophie Dwyer on the bench. Some of those shooting selections from Stacey had me kind of scratching my head.
And in the first few minutes of that last test, Kira Austin did not want to shoot over Kelly.
Did not want to shoot.
She just got in her head straight away. So, yeah, I agree. A little bit odd with those changes. I would have slipped Conan back into that goal shoot position.
Where they won by 10 and 9 against
And why no
defensive end.
Sunday Ariang until the last 5 minutes of that game? I mean, was she just thinking, oh, well, we've got the cup? But I don't think Aussies...
Doubt it.
I don't think Aussies think like that. So
Did you give your rating?
A 7.
A 7.
7.
I was a 7 as well, just because of, I mean, you brought it up, Annie, the hot and cold, particularly with Phoenix. And I feel like that is what we say about her so often. She's either brilliant or, especially against an Australian style, she gets kind of caught chasing, although it happened with Sophie Drakeford-Lewis. Remember back in the Taini Jamison, she got chasing her a little bit, and then the next game completely shut her down. And Jen, you had something to bring up about what Kelly mentioned halfway through the Constellation Cup, about their game plan.
It was interesting because at the end, it was pointed out to me that, because I think she was MVP in that Invercargill test, and she said, we went back to what we're good at, space marking. And I thought, oh, okay. But then you were both saying, I don't know if that's what they were doing.
Well, I felt like the way they were getting ball, especially in that 4th test and parts of that 3rd test, was they went back to man on man, and that's where, she was closer to her partner so she could contest those high balls. You know, her ability to come around and get those high balls was pretty impressive in that 4th test. So I felt that they were a lot tighter one-on-one. So that's interesting that she thought they were doing the space marking.
We've still got a few series internationally, but where to for World Netball? Jen, I know you're dying to talk about this because... What did you say? State of disarray?
State of disarray. Well, there's just so much, in flux because there's no Commonwealth Games at the moment for 2020. 4? No, we've had that. 26? 2026. You've got the netball situation in Australia. They're going into mediation between, Netball Australia and the Players Association. You've got Joyce Brown, the great coach, saying, for goodness sake, sort it out. And then you've also got England netball going from strength to strength.
Quietly just chipping away in the background.
Relaunching the Super League for next year. They're asking for bidders, and they're getting a lot of money pumped into that competition.
And that's probably the difference, right? It always comes down to money with netball. But you look at the last test that we saw at Spark Arena. How many people were in the crowd? It was amazing. We've finished with a really good product. We've got the viewership. We've got people engaged in netball. This is when you want Netball New Zealand to move and change things up, and whether we have a super club or do something with the ANZ Premiership or have more tests. this is the time Netball New Zealand need to do
But
it.
it's where you need a backer, isn't it? You need money. You need a really wealthy netball fan to come in and buy the whole competition. Or
Know anyone?
Anyway,
racking my brain. No.
well, on that, we'll just quickly touch, because we talked about this last time before we got cut short, but trying to get more Trans-Tasman competition, and off the back of such an excellent Constellation Cup, would you like to see Super Club back, Annie? Or, we're going to have these discussions about what the Super Netball competition is going to look like in Australia. We still don't know. Our competition is set in stone for 2024, but we don't know after that either. What changes, if you could just make one change each, would you see to those competitions?
Yeah, I'd love a Super Club, but you look at Australia, they're now playing 2 more tests in Cairns and Hobart against the South African series. So where you would, fit in another series, that's the challenge that netball face is, I guess, with such a long international calendar. And we talked about it. It's been a long year for us, Jen. We started in January with the quad series. We're still going.
I lost my brain in Johannesburg. But
yes, we need something. We need something new.
But I agree. I would like the Super Club, but I'd like the Super Club as it was originally envisaged. Top 2 teams from Australia, top 2 from New Zealand, top 2 from England, and they've got to come, because that's where it went wrong.
Yep.
Because nobody, as I heard, wanted to pay.
It was, money, and then I think everyone was just almost sort of over it by the end of the year, right, into their seasons. So we've got to figure out how to make it work. We would love to see a Super Club competition, absolutely. We want more Trans-Tasman games because they're just so much fun. Okay, that's all from us here on Inside Netball for now. We will be back for a preview of the Fast 5 tournament, though. That's starting on the 11th of November, and it's all happening live on Sky Sport. We'll see you next time.